In this week's episode, I talk about the grand idea of doing your assignment. We talk about insurances, and we look at Moses, who didn't quite feel adequate. Hey, and welcome to episode 48 of Business Greenhouse TV. Again, thank you for taking the time to watch this show. It means the world to me. But I got a favor to ask. This is the share show. Would you share this for me? Just simply hit the share button. You know, if you're watching this on Facebook, it's easy. Just hit the share button, it'll push it out. I want more people to watch this show. All right, that's my agenda. I put it all out for free, but I want more people to be watching it. And that's where you come into the equation. Would you help me get more people watching the show? If you're watching this on YouTube, just grab the link, send it out to your friends somehow. Something like that would mean the world to me if you would do that. But just the share show. Would you share this one out for me? Because it's going to be a ripper. All right, let's get straight into this week's show.
Ev from Burbage asks, explain how God looks after our business while we do our assignment.
Everyone, let me give you a shout out. Sports Power Shop down in Mandurah, south of Perth. So what Evren's referring to here is basically part of our teaching. Essentially that, you know, when we do our assignment from heaven, then God looks after our business and God prospers our business. I guess if this is the first time you're hearing that, then I need to take a bit of a backward step. Essentially, here's the thing, right? We live in a world where corruption has reigned, you know, for 6,000 years mostly. You know, and this corruption is what's causing, you know, huge amounts of poverty and people can't get into a home and debt up to our eyeballs. And basically the root cause of all of this is self-interest. It's putting myself above everybody else. Which is 180 degrees away from what the Bible says. If you take Jesus' entire message of the kingdom, for me, I drill it down to preferring others over ourselves. We've got to prefer others. If everybody in the world preferred others over themselves, nobody would get left out. Okay? Great model. But what we're talking about here is the opposite spirit, which is self-interest, self-seeking. It's all about me, and I don't care about anybody else. That spirit, that self-interest, that pride, that arrogance of all about me is what has caused most of the systemic issues in the world. Okay, so if you look at the massive disparity between the ultra wealthy and the super poor, that's because of corruption. That's because of, you know, there's no sharing. There's no preferring others over themselves. Okay, so if we're going to tackle this, and, you know, you and I, we're just business people, right? So we're not pastors, we're not all those kind of things, and they're massively valuable. Every gift is valuable. But for us, it's just business. And our job is to, thy kingdom come, bring the kingdom through business. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we are the ones that can attack, we have to attack the corruption, because it's business that brought corruption into the world. It needs to be business that takes corruption out of the world. All right, so the way that we do that, okay, is we go about operating our businesses in the opposite spirit, okay? And so to do that, every single one of us, I believe, has an assignment from heaven, a specific task for you, only you. And the kingdom is relying on you and I doing our assignment, okay? Now let me give you some examples of what I mean. Moses, you know, go back to Egypt and get my people out, you know, and we know the story about Pharaoh, the plagues, the 10 plagues, the dying of the firstborn son, hardens his heart, he comes out. That's Moses' assignment, was to go back and do that. Noah, build an ark, and I'm going to start again, specific assignment. Esther, you know, makes application to the king and save the Jews from genocide from King Xerxes. And it's all the way through the Bible. You know, it's a story. It's a storybook of people on assignment who went and did their tasks, you know, right up to Jesus, go to earth, die an ugly death, reconcile man back to me from God. The Apostle Paul, take the gospel to the kings, the Jews and the Gentiles, and take the gospel all the way to Rome. And he could have bowed out all the way through. He could have said, I'm a Roman citizen, you know, and been freed, but he didn't, because the assignment on his life was take the gospel all the way to Caesar, and he does so. The assignment for Wes is, set up these annual training events, the Kingdom Business Summits, run them all over the country, don't charge anybody to come, train people for 2 whole days on spiritual and practical things and stuff like that. So I have mine. Now, the reason, and you have yours, and it might be massive, it might be small, they're all valuable in the kingdom about what our assignment is. But we have to know ours, and then we have to go and get active in it, okay? We have to go and get active in our assignment, and that is what, doing our assignment, then the Lord will apply the favor to our businesses. All the way through the Bible, we see, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous, I am with you, I am with you, I am with you, I am with you. And the outworking of I am with you is that the Lord provides a huge amount of miracles in that person's life, right? So Gideon starts doubting, but I'm with you. Go down, overhear these 2 men talking, and you'll hear the fact that I've given them into your hands. Joshua goes into battle and starts taking people out when he shouldn't have done. Gideon's 300 men shouldn't have won that battle, yada, yada, yada. And what that is that's these people just doing their bit, bringing their knowledge, being excellent, doing what they do, and the Lord applying the favor to their life to execute on their assignment. So here's I guess, the summary of all of that. Most Christians in business have got the cart before the horse, right? They are saying, Lord, bring me more customers and then I'll do my assignment, or bring me more customers, I'll start funding projects. Or they're saying, Lord, when my revenues are double, then I can start doing great things. Lord, when things really kick in, I'm going to start my foundation and we're going to start doing. It's the wrong way. What the Lord is wanting is the opposite spirit. Start doing your assignment, even if it's in a really, really, really small way. And then you've got the kingdom perspective, which is you're doing outreach, you're preferring others over yourself, you're seeking first the kingdom, right? It's like a bit preachy now. I'll get my pastor's hat on, my open at church. When you do the assignment first, then the Lord's saying, then I will be with you. And with you, like we saw in the stories here, is God applying the favor to the people's lives. With you for us is he starts multiplying our businesses. We start seeing revenue increases. We start doubling and tripling and things like that. And things get out of hand, okay? And in a good way. And so let me give you an example. We started running the Kingdom Business Summit with 28 people in 2012 in a dusty little hall in Nerang on the Gold Coast. But we did our assignment. I just felt the Lord say, you want to train them, have prophetic ministry at the end, it's going to be explosive. So we did it. 28 became 95 people, which became 200 people, which became 450, which became 1,000. And this year just gone, we had, over 1,500 business people in 4 cities. Not to brag on us, but because I've done my assignment, my business interests behind all of those summits are always prospering. They are bigger every single year. And quite often 2 to 3 times in some areas. Some areas of my business this year, 2017, one of my investments has grown 4-fold in 4 months. 4-fold in 4 months. Not 40% bigger, 4 times bigger in 4 months, okay? And that's the Lord applying the favor because I'm doing my assignment. So, where do you start with all of that? It's like, hang on a minute, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. First of all, you've got to know you've got to know what your assignment is. And in my experience, most people know, just never gave themselves permission to go and start. Once you know what it is, you have to start small. This isn't about trying to create a YWAM by Friday or a campus crusade. This is about just starting with whatever you've got. If your ministry was to help the aged in their final years of life, then your assignment is to go and make a cup of tea and sit with somebody who's at the end of and start befriend them. I mean, that could be the start of it. We're not, and the Lord will grow it. It'll just grow. It'll become bigger than you could ever handle. And but it's just about starting and taking that first step. And that's what I mean by when you do your assignment, God applies the favor and looks after your business. Most people have it round the wrong way. They're saying, if, when, then I'll start. And the Lord's going, no. That's the way the world does things. We've got to switch it. Do your assignment and I will apply the favor. I will be with you all the days of your life. Solid question. Did I tell you this is the share show? Would you mind sharing this one up for me? Just simply hit share, push it out. We need thousands of entrepreneurs in this country if we're going to rally enough people to end corruption and oust this Babylonian system that's out here. So I need more people on this journey with us, and the way I do that is by you sharing it. So would you do that for me? That'd be a blessing.
Leanne Cusack asks, income protection insurance versus faith, that God will provide?
Leanne, this is a solid question, and the reason why I took it and wanted to answer is this was a big debate in my household actually between Kimberly and myself for the first few years of marriage. What I'm going to tell you is only what I did. I certainly not advice for everybody. Okay, for me, I just didn't bother with life insurance and income protection and all that sort of stuff. I just didn't do it. I just didn't do it. And part of my rationale was it's money that I could just save and use, to buy assets, right? But the greatest part of me was this maybe unhealthy bravado that goes, hang on a minute, I know what the Lord's asked me to do with my life. I'm not going to get taken out because I've got that thing to go and do. And, you could build a whole theology around why that is or isn't true. But that's just how I was. I was a bit confident in the fact that, people say you can hit by a bus any day. Yeah, but statistically you won't, right? And I quite like numbers. So the chances were for me. So anyway, and then Kimberly would always say, but what happens? But what happens? But what happens? And, it's funny, we looked back after, 5 or 6 years of being married. She stopped asking and I realised why. It's like, well, we were okay. Like, we are almost self-insured, now. And I remember Kimberly coming to me maybe 2 years ago and she's like, I don't really have a full grasp on it all. Like if you were to die or be incapacitated, like what happens? I'm like, it's really simple. Go get some good advice, go to the trust where we hold everything, sell it all, and live happily ever after. And so we kind of self-insured in a way. But I wouldn't say that's advice for everybody. But I just expect that when the kingdom says to somebody, this is what I want you to go and do, that you get to go and do that. And so for me, I didn't bother with those insurances, and I saved the money that I would have spent, and I put it to assets that grew over time, and then I ended up insuring by default. So I wouldn't say that's for everybody, but you asked the question, and that is my answer. Would you mind sharing this? I know I've asked you a few times. Sometimes we have to give people a little bit of a jig. Would you mind sharing the show for me, the world to me, if you would do that? All right, let's go to Word of the Week. All right, so this week we spoke about Moses in the first question. We're going to go back to him. So we're in Exodus, and we're going to go to Exodus 4, 10 through to 13. And this is what it says. Moses says to the Lord, pardon your servant, Lord. Like, excuse me, just a minute, Lord. I've never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to me. So he's already been told by God, going back to Egypt and get my people out, and here's how you're going to do it. And he's like, so he's having that moment where he's like, oh, I've just realized the gravity of my assignment, okay? He's like, well, I've never been eloquent, not before, not since you've spoken to me, so nothing's got any better for me, Lord, in my eloquence. I'm slow of speech and tongue. The Lord says to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf? Who makes them mute? Who gives them sight? It's me. In other words, shush up, Moses, just go and do the job at hand. And then Moses stands. This is a bold move. Pardon your servant, Lord, but send somebody else. I mean, I love the story of Moses in that regard because, I can relate. I can relate to Moses in a small way. The whole assignment of my life is to train, and we need to get to 10 to 20,000 entrepreneurs who are rallied together with a similar vision. That's really what the Summits is for. And then we need to use the collective power of that group who couldn't care less about doctrinal differences, but they just want the common vision of ousting Babylon and ousting corruption, and using that as a lobby group to policymakers and using it to rally the finances, not because I want it, but we want to distribute it so that we're looking after the poor and stuff like that. That's mission impossible for me. I quite often want to go back to the Lord and go, 10 years ago I was cleaning windows at, $16 an hour. Who am I? And so I can relate to that. Let me tell you that when you know what your assignment is, when you know what it is, when you start to get a picture and a clear picture of what it is, it's always going to feel like mission impossible. It's always going to feel way too bigger than you can ever do, and it's meant to. That's what Moses is saying. It's like he's trying to back out, going, I'm nowhere near good enough to handle that. It's like, yeah, and I feel exactly the same, and you're going to feel that way too. And it's totally normal to feel inadequate of the vision of the assignment that the Lord has given you. That's why all He wants you to do, all He wants you to bring to the table of your assignment is your knowledge that you've gained, the lessons from all your experiences, your skill set, and He will apply the favor and He will do the rest to achieve it, okay? I want you to have confidence and kind of feel liberated that, you know, when the Lord puts something in your heart, or you can see something in your mind's eye of what your life is going to stand for, and it scares the pants out of you, that is it. And it's meant to be that way. Because if you can do it in your own strength, it's exactly the same as the people of this world doing good. They do it in their own strength. We need to collaborate with the Lord and go and do something that is far bigger than we could ever go and do on our own. Just like it is with Moses, just like it is with me, and just like it's going to be with you. Would you share the show? Hopefully you found some value in that this week. I'll be back next week to do another one, but between now and then, share it for me, please. Please, would mean the world to me. Have a super week. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.